Hello everyone, I am Dr. Vibhash Kumar Veth and today we're learning about the osteology of radius bone. You can see this is radius bone and the radius bone is a type of the long bone and it is situated in upper limb and it is the lateral bone of the forearm. It is homologous with the tibia of the lower limb. In the human body, radius present in a pair. So being a pair bone, how will identify the site of the radius? So when you go for the site examination, you always remember this radius is comprises of two ends and intervening shaft. So the upper end of the radius is disc shape. So in these two ends, this disc shape end, so this end is considered as the upper end and it should be directed upward, and the lower end of the radius is expanded. So this end is expanded end and this end should be directed downward. And when you see the lower end, the anterior surface of the lower end which wear a prominent ridge. So this prominent ridge containing surface should be directed anteriorly, and the posterior surface of the lower end wear a tubercle and grooves. So you can see this tubercle is also called as dorsal tubercle ablation. So this tubercle containing surface which directed posteriorly, and in the shaft the medial border of the shaft is sharpest. So you can see here this border is sharpest border of the shaft. So this sharpest border of the shaft which directed toward the medially. So in this point you can easily identify the side of the radius. So this radius is right sided radius. As I told, radius has upper end, intervening shaft and lower end. Upper end is disc shaped and it covered with the hyaline cartilage. It has a superior concave surface which articulate with the capitulum of the humerus. You can see this is humerus bone, and on the lower end of the humerus bone has a capitulum and trochlea. This capitulum of the humerus which articulate with the upper concave surface of the radius and form the radiohumeral joint. And you can see here a circumference part of the head of the radius. This circumference part of the head of the radius is also articular. The medial part of circumference part of the head which articulate with the radial notch of the ulna. This is the ulna bone, and on the medial part of upper end has a radial notch. Over this radial notch, this circumference part of the head which articulate and form the superior radioulnar joint, like that. Just below the head you can see here a constricted part. This constricted part is called neck of the radius. This neck is enclosed by the narrow lower margin of the annular ligament. The annular ligament also covered with the circumference part of the head of the radius. And just below and medial to the neck you can see here a tuberosity. This tuberosity is also called as radial tuberosity, and this radial tuberosity has a posterior rough part and anterior smooth part. Now let's see the shaft which is present in between the upper end and lower end. So shaft has three borders and three surfaces. The anterior border which extend from the anterior margin of the radial tuberosity, this is radial tuberosity, and down to close to the styloid process. This is styloid process. So the upper half of the anterior border is oblique and lower half is vertical. The lowest part of the anterior border, this is the lowest part of the anterior border which is crest-like, and the upper oblique part, this upper oblique part is also called as anterior oblique line, and the lower vertical part is crest-like. Then the posterior border, you can see here this is posterior border. The posterior border is mirror image to the anterior border, but it is clearly defined only in its medial 1/3 part. You can see here, this is posterior border, and this posterior border only visible or clearly defined in the medial 1/3 part. Upper part and lower part, it is not clearly defined. Then the interosseous border, you can see here, this sharpest border of the shaft is called interosseous border. This interosseous border is also called as medial border. It is extend just below to the, this is radial tubicity, and it extends just below to the radial tubicity, go down and merge with the posterior margin. This is anterior margin of ulnar notch, and this one is a posterior margin of the ulnar notch, and this medial border merge with the posterior margin of the ulnar notch. Now we'll see the surface of the radius. So as I told, radius, shaft of the radius has 3 surfaces also. You can see here, this is anterior surface, which is lies between the medial border and anterior border. Then this is posterior surface, lies between the medial border and ill-defined posterior border, and this one is lateral surface, lies between the anterior border and ill-defined posterior border. Now we'll see the lower end. The lower end of the radius is the widest part of the bone, and this end has a 5 surface. One is anterior surface. This anterior surface is smooth, and you can see over the anterior surface a prominent ridge, and the radial artery which is palpated again this surface. Then you can see this is posterior surface. Posterior surface is rough, and this posterior surface bears a groove for tendon of extensor muscles and a tubercle. This tubercle is called dorsal tubercle of Lischner. Then you can see this one is medial surface of the lower end. This medial surface of the lower end bear a notch for the head of the ulna. This notch is called ulnar notch, and you can see this is lateral surface. The lateral surface is narrow as compared to the another surface, and this lateral surface prolonged downward. This downward prolongation is called styloid process of radius, and you can see here, this is inferior surface. The inferior surface of the lower end of the radius is divided into lateral triangular area and medial quadrangular area. The lateral triangular area which for scaphoid bone, and medial quadrangular area for lunate bone, and this inferior surface which takes part in forming the wrist joint. Now we'll discuss about the attachment over the radius. The bicep brachii is inserted into the posterior rough part of radial tubicity. This is radial tubicity. The anterior part which covered with the bursa, and posterior rough part. Over this posterior rough part we have attachment of bicep brachii muscle. Then the supinator muscle is inserted into the upper part of lateral surface. So this area which receive insertion of the supinator muscle. Then the pronator teres muscle is inserted into the medial of the lateral surface. Here you can see this part receive insertion of the pronator teres muscle. Then the brachialis is inserted into the lower part of the lateral surface just above to the styloid process. Here we have a styloid process, and just above to the styloid process this area receive of insertion of the brachialis muscle. Then the radial head of the flexor digitorum superficialis take origin from the anterior oblique line. You can see here this anterior, from this anterior oblique line we have a origin of the radial head of the flexor digitorum superficialis muscle. Then the flexor pollicis longus takes origin from the upper 2/3 part of anterior surface. From this part we have a origin of the flexor pollicis longus muscle. Then the pronator caudate muscle is inserted into the lower part of the anterior surface and into the triangular area of the medial side of the lower end. So from the anterior surface to the triangular area of medial surface, this area receive insertion of the pronator caudate muscle. The radial artery is palpated for the radial pulse as it lies on the medial to the sharp anterior border of the radius. From here we have a location of radial artery. Adductor pollicis longus and extensor pollicis brevis, which arise from the posterior surface. From upper 1/3 part, this area which provide origin of the adductor pollicis longus, and middle 1/3 part, this area which provide origin of the extensor pollicis brevis. Caudate ligament which attach over just medial or inferior part of radial tuberosity, and the capsular ligament of the wrist joint which attach to the anterior margin and posterior margin of the inferior articular surface over this part, which provide attachment of the capsular ligament of wrist joint. Then the articular disc of the inferior radioulnar joint which attach over the lower border of the ulnar notch. Here we have a attachment of the articular disc of the inferior radioulnar joint. Then the extensor retinaculum is attached to the lower part of the anterior sharp border. So this is anterior sharp border and this is the lower part of the anterior sharp border. Over this part we have attachment of the extensor retinaculum. The interosseous membrane is attached to the lower 3/5 part of the interosseous border. Over the posterior surface of the lower end, the first groove in the posterior surface of the lower end which provide passage to the adductor pollicis longus and extensor pollicis brevis. The first groove which lies between the sharp crust-like lower part and styloid process. Then the second groove which lies between the styloid process and the dorsal tubercle of the Lischner, which provide passage for the extensor carpi radialis longus and extensor carpi radialis brevis tendon. Then the third oblique groove just medial to the dorsal tubercle of the Lischner, this groove which provide passage to the extensor pollicis longus tendon. The fourth groove on the medial aspect give passage for the tendon of the extensor digitorum or extensor indicis and posterior interosseous nerve and anterior interosseous artery. In addition, at the junction of the lower end of the radius and the ulna, you can see this is the lower end of the ulna and this is lower end of the radius. In the junction between these two bones which provide passage for the tendon of the extensor digiti minimi. Lastly, in relation to the ulna lies between the head and the styloid process which provide passage for the extensor carpi ulnaris. These are 6 compartments under the extensor retinaculum of the wrist. 4 are in relation to the radius and 5th in relation to junction between these two bones and 6 in relation to the lower end of the ulna. Now we'll discuss about some clinical importance of radius bone. The radius commonly get fracture about 2 cm above its lower end. This fracture is called Cooley's fracture. This fracture is caused by the fall on the outstretched hand the distal fragment is displaced upward and backward, and the radial styloid process come to the proximal to the ulnar styloid process. It normally lies distal to the ulnar styloid process. If the distal fragment get displaced anteriorly, so this type of fracture is called Smith fracture. A sudden powerful jerk on the hand of the child may dislodge the hand of radius from the grip of the annular ligament. This is known as the subluxation of the head of the radius or pulled elbow. The hand can normally be felt in the hollow behind the lateral epicondyle of the humerus. So today we covered the site determination, bony feature and attachments and some clinical point of the radius. I hope you all understood the topic, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you.